Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into the surprising history of a single, really common word. Now, according to the author of our source article, it's a word we all think we know. But what if I told you its original meaning had almost nothing to do with your personal beliefs and everything to do with public action? Let's see how it all changed. So the author kicks things off with this amazing, iconic line from The Princess Bride. And it's the perfect hook, really, because he's suggesting that when it comes to the word religion, we're pretty much all in the same boat as Vizzini. We're confidently using a word whose real historical meaning has been completely lost to time. And there it is. That's the central question for us today. What if this modern idea of religion as some private, internal belief system is, well, just that, modern? What if historically it meant something way more active, way more public? Let's find out. Okay, so to really get the scale of the shift, we have to start with a baseline. Let's begin with what we think we know today and see how that modern definition really colors our entire perception of the word. You know, if you crack open a dictionary right now and look up religion, you're going to find something like this. It's all about a set of beliefs. Notice that key phrase. It's internal. It's personal, and honestly, this is the definition most of us just carry around in our heads without a second thought. Well, the short answer from our author is a big, resounding no. He argues that this intense focus on belief is actually a pretty new development. So if it didn't mean a set of beliefs, then what on earth did it mean? And this, right here, is the heart of the author's investigation. He does this really cool thing where he looks at older and older dictionaries, and by doing that, he tracks this dramatic evolution in meaning from something you simply believe to something you actually do. This timeline just lays it out so perfectly. Today, we're here with religion as a set of personal beliefs. But watch what happens as the author takes us back. By 1913, the definition centers on an outward act. Go back even further to 1856, and it's about piety in practice and your duty to others. Wow, the shift from an internal thought to an external action couldn't be clearer. Let's look at that contrast up close. The 1913 Webster's Dictionary defines religion as the outward act or form. The source argues this is a huge, seismic shift. Religion wasn't just about what was rattling around in your head, it was about what you were actively, physically doing in the world. And get this, according to the author, this fundamental change from an outward action to an internal belief, it all happened in just over a century. That is an incredibly fast transformation for a word that's so foundational to our culture. So, let's keep going back. The author points to what he sees as the smoking gun, Bouvier's Law Dictionary from 1856. He notes this was a dictionary adapted specifically for the U.S. Constitution, so for him, this is where we find the original American legal meaning of the word. And here it is. Take a close look. There is zero mention of a set of beliefs. Instead, it's all about practice, performance, and duties. And specifically, the duties we owe to our fellow men. This definition is 100% about action. And don't get tripped up by that word piety. The author is quick to point out that while today it might sound like, just showing off how virtuous you are, its original meaning was much more solid. It just meant duty, especially your duty to your family and your community. So, the bottom line from the author is this. Based on that 1856 definition, your religion wasn't what you said you believed. Nope. Your real religion was how you actively took care of the people around you. It was your system for fulfilling your duties to society. Okay, so why does any of this matter? Well, the author argues that this change in language didn't just happen in a vacuum. He connects it directly to a massive shift in how our society works, especially when it comes to who's responsible for social welfare. The author points out that right around the early 1900s, just as the definition of religion was changing, governments started getting into the social welfare game in a big way. He claims that at the exact same time, churches began shifting their focus away from day-to-day care and more towards belief and doctrine. In a way, they were outsourcing their duties to fellow men to the state. This table from the source really lays out the author's before and after picture. He frames the past system as one run by communities, paid for by charity, and focused on duty. The modern system, by contrast, is run by the government, funded by taxes, which he calls forced contributions, and this, in his view, is what allows religion to retreat into being just a matter of personal belief, totally separate from action.
And this all leads us to the author's final and, frankly, most provocative argument. He suggests that if religion is really the system we use to care for each other, then these two models of social care, well, they aren't just systems. They are, in fact, two competing religions.
So, the author asks us to just set aside our modern definitions for a second and chew on this idea that the method our society chooses to provide for its vulnerable, the needy, the widows, the orphans, that is its actual functioning religion. He gives these two competing forms of religion some pretty blunt names: the religion of liberty and the religion of force. Let's break down exactly what he means by each of those.
So, path number one, which he calls the religion of liberty, is a system of social care built completely on voluntary action. It's funded by charity, by free will offerings. In his view, this is a system where people take care of people directly, and he argues this is the path that ultimately fosters real freedom. Then there's the second path, which he labels the religion of force. This system is based on compulsory contributions, in other words, taxes, collected by a central authority. Care is then handed out by what he calls elected benefactors. The author squarely aligns this with modern welfare states and argues that, no matter how good the intentions are, this system risks making people dependent on that state power. And so, the author leaves us with this final, really challenging thought. If we accept that original historical definition, that religion is not what we believe, but what we do to fulfill our duty to others, then which system are we as a society actually practicing? It's a question that completely reframes the whole debate, all from just exploring the hidden history of a single word: